Welcome to Sightseeing Japan, the podcast where we explore the land of beautiful cities.
We sure do.
I'm Paul Bresson.
And I'm Jason Nealing. And here we are, Paul, in the new studio. What do you think? How's it feel?
It's amazing. It's so spacious.
I like that we can now gaze lovingly into each other's eyes, because before we used to be at like a 45-degree angle, kinda, and like we're staring at our screens and stuff. Now you're just right here in front of me. It's great.
This is like perfect 100% eye contact entire episode.
Looking good, buddy. I like the beard.
Thank you. We keep it nice and trim this time. Last time I grew a beard, I grew it way out to kind of give that
mountain man kind of feel
thing. And I thought it actually didn't look very good, but I never got more compliments in my life than when I had the huge nasty beard. I'd get, "Oh, nice beard, dude." Like at least once a week.
Jealousy, maybe. There's like, wow, that's a majestic beard. I can't grow a beard like that.
It could be.
And I'm speaking about this hypothetical person, but also about me. I absolutely couldn't grow a beard like that. And I'm jealous and impressed.
Everyone's beard is unique and special in their own way.
Mine is patchy and gross, and Yia will never... I mean, she just won't touch me if I have a beard, so this is the way I'm going to live my life. Clean shaven.
Yeah, I've never seen my dad with a beard.
Yeah, I can't imagine your dad with a beard.
But he has a beard in my parents' wedding photo.
No way.
And my mom's like, as soon as we got married, I made him shave it. Never let him grow back.
For their anniversary, you should give them a copy of that picture with the beard photoshopped out.
Man, this is going to be great. You're just getting moved in, and you've already got such a cool place, dude.
Thanks, man. It's been a lot of work. I've been putting together so much furniture. My fingers are all like I literally got sore in my hands from just cranking all those Allen wrenches and stuff.
Right. Having come over here a few times in the last 2 or 3 weeks and seeing like the cleaning, the building, the putting together, I can tell how much work you've been putting in.
It's been a lot, but I'm excited to be able to hang out with my buds here.
But man, we're in the basement. Like, your basement's probably bigger than your entire apartment was.
There's so much room for activities.
You're right.
So much.
We're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
So speaking of moving into your house, I'm pretty sure I promised you on the podcast that I would buy you a specific housewarming gift.
I think, oh my gosh, I remember.
I think you know what's coming, but I wonder if any of our listeners remember.
I'm so excited. Oh, man.
All right,
I can't
this is
wait
for
to
you,
see
buddy.
This. I can't wait. He's adorable. Oh, my gosh. It's a little Tanuki. Oh, he's so lovable. Look at those eyes. Just gaze into his eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That is the coolest looking Tanuki statue available on the internet.
Thank you so much, Paul. Oh, and he's got little nipples, too. It needs a place of honor, you know? Like, I feel like the traditional place for it would be by the front door, but then I would never see it because I'm never walking up to my own front door, you know?
Right. At least in the summer, maybe out by the fire pit.
Oh, yeah. Do I take him in the winter? You think he'd survive out there?
He would, but if someone like accidentally kicked him in a snowbank, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to set this up. It's going to enhance the character of my home.
Put it in your new case with all your anime figures.
He could go in there, but he deserves to greet people, you know? That's what he's for.
True.
And he's looking up at people like he's got to be sitting, you know.
Get a little pedestal right in front of your front door or something.
Yeah.
Put him on there.
Oh, man. I love it. I love it so much.
Glad you're happy.
Well, for now, he can just watch us podcast.
I do have some sad news, though, Jason. I don't know if you've heard yet. You probably haven't.
What's this?
Gawagura is graduating.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I hadn't heard. So what exactly does that mean? She's just not streaming anymore?
She's going to retire the character and never stream as Gawagura ever again.
Wow, that is big news, and that is sad.
It is, yeah.
Huh.
For people unfamiliar, she's a VTuber, virtual YouTuber.
Yeah.
And graduation is an idol thing. You go refer to our idol episode, but it's when an idol retires or moves on from that gig. They call it a graduation, and they make a big deal about it, and everybody cries.
Yeah, we talked about VTubers in that episode, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Kind of the end of an era. She was like such a big deal in that world, right?
Yeah, definitely the most well-known English VTuber, even to this day.
I have some of her songs on my my playlist that I listen to all the time.
Ah, yeah. What a voice she's got.
Yeah. She doesn't speak any Japanese, right? I think I looked her up just because of the music angle. I wanted to know more about her because she sings in Japanese and she sounds really good singing in Japanese. Like, it sounds natural, but from what I read, she doesn't actually speak any Japanese. She's just like, imitating it. But like, she doesn't, I mean, I'm sure she knows what she's singing, but it's like she doesn't understand Japanese, on a fluent level.
I'm pretty sure that when she started VTubing, she didn't know any Japanese. I think she's learned a little bit, but I don't think she's fully fluent or anything.
VTubing? I've never heard that, but I guess that's the verb, huh?
It is. Absolutely.
VTubing.
Yep.
Interesting.
I'll get you someday, dude. You got to get into VTubing.
I've been watching more, well, not regularly, but like once in a while, I'll just find some Twitch stream and I'm like, this is fun. I just really like the ones where it's only like 10 people in there and you can actually talk to the person, I actually sometimes go on there and find Japanese, like just people playing games and streaming and just try to talk to them a little bit,
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, what are we talking about today, Jason?
Well, we're doing another city episode today.
Always love those.
Yeah. And it's a pretty cool city that I visited 10 years ago. Can you believe it?
Oh, man.
10 years.
Yeah, it was before I think you and I had ever gone to Japan together, right?
It was the year before our first trip together. Yeah.
Okay, your second trip?
Yep. Went with my wife. Not my wife at that point, though. We were just dating. Yeah, it was a good time. I especially liked a couple day trips that we did from this city that we'll talk about as well. But the city itself is also really cool. I feel like I missed out on a lot of stuff when I was there. We're going to talk about the Loople bus, which I think is awesome. We kind of structured this itinerary that we're going to talk about today around the Loople bus, at least part of it, part of the itinerary.
Yeah, I love the sightseeing loop buses in the cities. Great idea.
Wait a minute, did I even say the name of the city that we're talking about?
I think so.
Well, if I didn't, we're talking about Sendai.
Yeah, maybe you didn't.
I feel like I might not have. But Sendai, should we talk some basic facts about Sendai?
Yes.
Well, it's the capital of Miyagi Prefecture. It's the largest city in the Tohoku region. So Tohoku is basically northern Japan. We're talking like north of Tokyo, but it's still kind of on the east edge of that main island of Honshu.
Yeah, it's on the Pacific coast.
It's actually not super far from Fukushima. And the coast around Sendai was hit pretty hard by that 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. We'll talk about that.
Yes. Population is just over 1 million.
I saw 1.1 million as of 2023.
So pretty serious city here.
It's the 12th most populous city in Japan.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. You know its nickname?
Mori-no-Miyako.
The City of Trees.
Yep.
Because a lot of its main streets are lined with Zelkova trees. Had you heard of that tree before, the Zelkova?
Maybe.
I wonder if your brother knows that one. I feel like we probably don't have them here because they're also known as the Japanese elm.
Okay. My brother specializes more in local trees.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Sendai has Tohoku University, which is a public research university, which was the third of the imperial universities.
Yeah.
It was established in 1907. Do you know the first two imperial universities?
Tokyo?
Yep.
And I'm just going to totally make it up. Osaka.
Oh, so close.
Kyoto.
Yep.
I should have gone with Kyoto.
So what, like in your research, what was the impression you got of Sendai? What kind of city is it? Besides, its nickname, the City of Trees, what things might people think of when they hear Sendai?
I think nature in a way, which is odd to say for a city of 1 million. But with the coastline to the east, mountains to the west, there are some really amazing sites nearby that I think if you're thinking about it in regards to tourism, I think that's what a lot of people think.
Sure.
But one thing that came up that's a little odd is it's a very Japanese city. I kind of kept hearing.
In that maybe it's not as tourist focused as a lot of other big cities.
Yeah, it's going to be way outside the over tourism. There's going to be way less international tourists. So even at the tourist sites, the other people there are going to be a lot of local Japanese people enjoying their time.
That makes sense. And I remember when we did that episode about the whole Tohoku region, you said that something like just a few % of foreign tourists actually go to Tohoku.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know where I saw this exactly or how I got this impression, but I've kind of heard that Sendai is related to just like office workers and salarymen. Like it's just a big city where people work, and it's just a city that does its thing as a big city. I remember when we visited, like we got up in the morning and it was just like that thing where it's an army of salarymen and they all got their identical suits just walking down the street with their briefcases.
Yeah.
So I kind of can see how people might get that impression.
Sure.
But there's tons of other stuff to do for tourists, of course, as well. And that's what the whole episode is going to be about.
Yeah.
I'm curious, did you look into the etymology of Sendai at all?
Not that I recall.
I found something kind of interesting.
Okay.
If you would like to hear.
I would.
So there are various theories about where the name Sendai came from, and it's actually not even 100% clear whether the name came from Japanese or from the Ainu language. The Ainu, of course, being the indigenous peoples of northern Japan that were kind of pushed further and further north as Japan developed and whatnot. But setting that aside, here's the most popular theory that I think is really cool. So Sendai had a castle, right? Now it's just ruins, but there was a place that is now referred to as Sendai Castle. But when this castle was built, it was not called Sendai Castle. But this castle had a whole bunch of Buddha statues around. So many statues that people started referring to them as Sentai Butsu. Sen means 1,000. Tai is a counter word for statues. And Butsu is
Buddha?
Buddha, that's right. So Sentai Butsu eventually became Sendai.
Okay.
Isn't that cool?
Okay. I can see that.
Supposedly that's why the castle eventually became known as Sendai Castle or the Castle of 1,000 Statues.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sightseeing Japan is a listener-supported podcast. So thank you very much to everyone that has supported us over the years. We just want to let everyone know that we do have a Patreon that you can go check out. We have early access to all the podcast episodes on there, plus exclusive audio and video content. And the patrons get to choose one episode per season. So we have a lot of cool stuff going on there. So please feel free to go check that out. And we would appreciate it for anyone who chooses to support us. Jason and I have also created some itineraries for some of the most popular cities in Japan. We designed them to be as efficient as possible and hit all the major things to see in each city. So those are also available on the Patreon website. You don't have to be a patron, but you can go to the website and there's a little shop on there that you can access to view all of those itineraries.
If you're real interested in the itineraries and want every single one of them, you might also be interested in our Emperor tier on our Patreon. If you join that tier, you get access to every single one of those itineraries. Plus, you get to meet with the two of us on a call for an hour per month that you're subscribed, and we can talk about your trip and help you plan or talk about whatever you want. I think that'll be fun.
Me too.
And a huge thank you to everyone who has supported us thus far, and thank you to the rest of you who are maybe considering supporting us in the future. Ready for history, Paul?
Yeah. I'm curious, where do you want to start here?
Well, I feel like this happens a lot of times in history sections like this. I just have like a sentence where I say, the Sendai area may have been inhabited as far back as 20,000 years ago.
Yep.
And then I skip ahead like 19,000 years.
Pretty much.
Almost. But, the story of Sendai as a city goes back to 1600. That's about where I wanted to start with the real deep stuff.
Okay. Did you want to talk about Date Masamune?
Absolutely.
So should we start with him and his life a little bit?
Yeah, I wanted to focus on him because I teased that at the ending of the last episode, I think. Just a really fascinating guy. He founded Sendai, and he's like super important to the city's history in a lot of ways. As you go around to these different tourist sites, you'll hear his name everywhere. I remember that.
Yeah.
Even though, at the time I didn't know much about the history. I was like, man, this Masamune guy, everybody loves him.
He's a large figure in Japanese history.
He's legendary, man.
Yes.
He's awesome. So he was a daimyo, right?
Yes.
He was a local lord.
Mhm.
That's the most basic fact about him. Aristocratic family, right?
Yes.
And he was alive during the unification of Japan and into the early Edo period, which you could say is one of the most pivotal points in Japanese history.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of the, most famous historical figures in Japan, they were around at that time. That's when all the big important stuff happened, pretty much.
It's a very well-studied and well-researched area of Japanese history.
Yeah. So, did you see much about, the history of his family?
I didn't get too much into the history of his family. I looked a bit at his personal history, but I know the Date clan goes back hundreds of years as daimyo, I believe.
So it was a powerful samurai clan founded back in the Kamakura period in the 1100s. But even the Date clan traces its lineage back to the Fujiwara clan. You've heard of the Fujiwaras, of course.
Of course.
They were very influential as far back as the 600s, and they totally dominated Japanese politics in the Heian period. So, how do you say? He was just like the upper crust of society, you could say, something like that.
Yeah, very top-level aristocrat would maybe be a Western way of saying it.
Yeah. Fun fact, did you know the Date clan is still around, too?
I'm not surprised.
The 34th head of the clan still lives in Miyagi Prefecture.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Masamune himself. He became the most famous member of his clan. Why is he so special, Paul?
Well, he was a brilliant tactician and also a brilliant planner and builder. I mean, he laid out the plans for Sendai and helped it grow into such a prosperous city.
He was also a legendary warrior and a leader, and he has the awesomest nickname ever. Is that where you were going to go next?
Yeah.
Go for it.
He was nicknamed the One-Eyed Dragon of Oshu.
Oshu was an old name for the province that contained what is now Sendai.
Yes.
But yeah, the One-Eyed Dragon of Oshu. How cool is that?
When he was only a few years old, he lost sight in one of his eyes.
His right eye.
From smallpox. And apparently maybe lost the whole eye later. I saw a whole bunch of legends about him losing the eye.
I didn't think it was disputed that he lost the eye, but I saw that no one's sure exactly how he lost the eye.
Yeah. One legend that I saw a lot that just seemed completely made up to me was someone told him that an enemy could grab your eye in combat.
Yeah, I saw that too. That makes no sense to me.
So he ripped it out himself or had a retainer rip it out or something.
Yeah, what?
The only thing I can think of is he wouldn't see them coming at his eye because he couldn't see out of that one, but they could grab his ear or his head or anything.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's like saying, well, your enemy could chop off your arm, so you better beat him to it and just chop off your own arm. What?
Just sounds like a story to make him seem super badass,
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does do that.
But he was a very successful general.
Yes.
Fought a lot of campaigns.
He was also known for his really cool samurai armor, which has this massive metal crescent moon on the helmet. Did you see that?
Yes. I believe you can still see that.
In some museum?
Yeah, at one of the museums.
Yeah.
He fought his first campaign at 14 and took over as daimyo at 17.
Young leader. Sounds tough. Sounds like a lot to live up to,
Yeah, there were a lot of battles. It seemed like some people rebelled against him, and then it seemed like maybe he came up with reasons to invade other people, and he was expanding his realms. Somebody even kidnapped his father at one point, who had retired. Masamune took over as daimyo because his father retired, not because he died. And that was a whole story. There's just so many great stories about his wars and his campaigning.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude. Can we get to the unification part?
Yeah, let's go that.
During the unification of Japan, that really pivotal moment, as I mentioned, right around the end of the 1500s, Date Masamune served under Toyotomi Hideyoshi, one of the three main characters of that time period, though I saw that he served him somewhat reluctantly. They weren't real close buddy-buddy. And Masamune was actually seen as a bit of a threat because he had so much power and held land so far from the central Japanese government. That was kind of true in both directions. The further you get away from the center of power, the more wary the government is of you.
Absolutely. I think he dragged his feet in helping Hideyoshi fight a battle. He kept delaying when called upon, and Hideyoshi ended up taking away some of his lands because of that. And also because of the rivalry fear thing.
Yeah. But after Hideyoshi died, Masamune supported Tokugawa Ieyasu, another one of those three main characters, although Ieyasu still didn't really trust Date Masamune for those same reasons, But then Ieyasu united Japan, kicking off the Edo period, and he gave Masamune the Sendai domain.
Yes.
So then Masamune moved to Sendai, which at the time was just a little fishing village, nothing really going on there for the most part. And Masamune decided, I'm going to make this place awesome.
Yes. He picked it partly because it was a little bit closer to Tokyo, or to Edo, I should say, and then is way farther north. That area of Japan wasn't really developed yet. Like, nothing north of there was super developed at that time. He was kind of the frontier of where they were.
Yeah, and he really built things up by expanding trade in the region. He put down uprisings while he was trying to get his work done. He built that castle, which became Sendai Castle. He built other palaces, too. He did a lot to beautify the region.
Yeah. One interesting fact I found when researching him is that his domains that he ruled over shifted a number of times throughout his life. So this was actually his second time building a new home base capital. So he'd already had practice about 15 years earlier of building a new city.
Was that further north, the first city?
I think so.
You don't know what city it became?
I think that was Iwadayama, which I don't know what that is today.
Okay, haven't heard of that. Another notable thing I saw about him was that he was friendly to foreigners, which was unusual at the time.
Yeah, he seemed very open to foreign ideas and even foreign religions.
He let Christian missionaries preach in his province. He even sent an embassy to meet with the Pope in Rome.
Yeah, that story is crazy. So he sent them in 1613, and they traveled all the way across the Pacific in a Spanish-style galleon that they built themselves in the style of those European ships. And they landed in Mexico, and then from Mexico, they went to Rome and met with the Pope. They stopped in Spain at some point, and some of the people from the trip that were Japanese stayed in Spain because they were Christians. They didn't want to come back and get persecuted in Japan.
Yeah.
And there's still a population of people in Spain that have the last name Japan that were descendants from these people.
They made their last name
Spanish,
Japan?
Yeah, the Spanish version, like Japon or something. Japon or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Some of our listeners have suggested doing an episode about the history of Christianity in Japan.
Yes.
I think it would be really interesting because that's one part of that time period that I don't know a ton about, At that same time that the unification was going on, the Portuguese were, they had all these missionaries, and they were like actually really involved in the politics of the time. It's not like just this other thing that was happening at the same time. Like, they were very much intertwined.
Yeah.
Anyway. Got anything else about like that time period around 1600? I was about to skip ahead to like the late 1800s.
All I had was the end. Masamune died in 1636 at 68 years old.
Okay.
So he ruled for a long time, and even after he founded Sendai, he lived another 30-some years. So he really got to help the city grow for a long time.
What a life.
Yeah.
The one-eyed dragon.
Yeah.
I'll never earn a nickname that cool.
There's still time.
I've already resigned myself to just being Jason.
We live in different times. You don't get names like that anymore.
Yeah, right. Well, like I said, I'm going to skip ahead to 1887 if that works for you.
Yep.
That's when the first railway line opened that could get you from Sendai to Tokyo. So that was a big deal, closing the gap between Tokyo and Sendai.
Yeah, changed it to less than a day you could get between the cities. That's huge.
Yeah. And then 2 years later, Sendai was incorporated as a city under the modern municipality system. At that point, Sendai's population was only about 86,000. but it continued to grow and annex other local communities as you do throughout the 1900s, and its population grew to over 1 million people by 1999.
Okay. In 1913, Sendai University became the first university in Japan to allow female students.
Oh.
And in 1925, they opened up the first underground railway segment in Japan.
Really?
Yes, the Senseki line.
Huh. That's like a local subway?
Yep, it beat the Ginza line by 2 years.
Wow, that's cool. So we mentioned that Sendai is known as a green city, or we said it was known as the City of Trees,
Yes.
right? And that was even before the Meiji Restoration, because Date Masamune himself had encouraged people to plant trees in their gardens. He sent people out to plant trees in public areas. As I said, he beautified the city a lot. So that's why even these days you'll see lots of trees around temples and shrines and residential areas and those main streets and everything.
I also saw that it's even more so maybe the City of Trees now because a lot of the city got burned down in World War II. And when they rebuilt it, they built a lot of park space. It has one of the highest park space to city space ratios of any city in Japan.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
I remember specifically there were parks on our list of things to do when we visited. And it was fall too, so we got the nice fall colors and they had like statues and stuff of historical figures.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. Also, when Sendai was rebuilt after World War II, it became a transportation and logistics hub for all of northern Japan.
Yeah. Anything heading to Tokyo from northern Japan is probably running through Sendai.
Yep.
There have been several major earthquakes in the area throughout history. There was quite a big earthquake in 1978 called the Miyagi earthquake, and that was actually what spurred modern earthquake standards in Japan.
For the whole country, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
The devastation after that, they were like, we need to come up with something to prevent this from happening again. But then the one probably everyone knows about was the 2011 earthquake and tsunami just off the coast in the Pacific Ocean. That was just absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
Thousands of people died. Land was flooded kilometers inland at some places from the tsunami. Just horrific.
Yeah, we'll talk about some places where you can still see, ruins and stuff from that. And I remember when we visited in 2015, we saw a lot of like just empty foundations and stuff along the coast there as we traveled around. People were displaced for so long. I wonder if there still are people that like don't have a permanent place to live.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it was years for some people, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, there's so much damage. There's so much to rebuild. But also, like, do I want to rebuild in the same place that just got leveled?
Right.
That's tough.
Yeah. But anyway, nowadays, don't worry about those earthquakes. You should go visit Sendai because it's, the biggest city in Tohoku. It's a really cool place to visit. Nothing to worry about. Just go have fun, right?
Sure. I mean, if there's an earthquake, get to high ground. But other than that, nothing to worry about.
Look, that earthquake off the coast that caused a tsunami, that was a fluke. That doesn't happen very often. If there's an earthquake in Japan, they got all those buildings, tricked out to survive. You'll be just fine. Just stand in a doorway, crouch down. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
I'm just talking now. I don't know. Forget that. Let's move on and talk about fun stuff to do.
Sounds good.
All right, Paul, let's explore Sendai. What do you say?
Yeah. We're going to start at Sendai Station, right? Downtown area.
I think that makes sense.
And we're going to do the Loople sightseeing bus today.
Right. So I think compared to most cities we've covered before, I feel like in Sendai, things are a little bit more spread out. Like it's not quite as walkable of a city as a lot of other cities we've covered, which is what makes the Loople such a great option.
Yeah, parts of it are, but the attractions aren't grouped heavily together for the most part.
I mean, I remember we did a lot of walking, but like I said, we missed out on a lot of stuff because we didn't make it out further out of the center of the city.
Sure.
So on the Loople sightseeing bus, there are 14 stops in all. You could stop at every single one if you had time, but we're going to focus on The ones that we found more intriguing, because we have other stuff to talk about outside of the Loople route as well. So the first stop I want to talk about, Paul, is stop 4, Zuihoden. Sound good?
Yes. Sounds like a great place to start.
All right. What is this place about?
It's the mausoleum of Date Masamune.
Sweet. The one-eyed dragon.
Yeah. And it is really ornate and stylish. It's quite striking.
Dude, yeah. So it's like this whole mausoleum complex, right? Like, it only makes sense to make something that big for a real important guy. And I looked into this a lot because it reminded me a little bit of something.
I bet
Can
it
you
did.
guess what it was that it reminded me of?
Nikko Toshogu?
Exactly. Yeah. So this Zuihoden for Date Masamune, it was erected in 1637, which is 1 year after Masamune died, right? And it was according to his instructions. Like, nobody built this for him. He said, hey, when I die, build this for me. I just imagine him like on his deathbed handing them the plans, like, guys, just bury me in this. It's going to be awesome.
It is awesome.
It is. It really is. Several other members of the Date clan are also buried there. But yeah, it's super ornate. It totally reminded me of Nikko, where you can see the mausoleum of Tokugawa Ieyasu. So much so that I dug into it and I came up with a theory. I didn't actually find anything, anybody else talking about my specific theory, but I think this makes a lot of sense, okay?
Okay.
So, thinking back to the Nikko episode, remember we learned that Toshogu Shrine wasn't as elaborate as it is now until Tokugawa Iemitsu expanded it in 1636, right?
Yes.
Well, Zuihoden, the mausoleum for Date Masamune, it was built in a very similar style that very next year after the Toshogu Shrine was expanded. I also noticed that the paths around Zuihoden are lined with cedar trees, which Nikko is known for.
Yep.
My theory is that this place was directly inspired by Toshogu Shrine. I think Date Masamune saw that the Toshogu Shrine was being expanded and made super, super fancy, and he was like, well, obviously I need a mausoleum to rival that one.
I buy 100% into that. I think throughout history, a lot of times the kings, or in this case, the shogun, the highest person, kind of sets the fashion standard. Like, oh, this is what we're doing now? Because they went from hundreds of years of not having the super bright, ornate stuff to starting to do that. And then it kind of kicked off a little period of everyone copying that.
It makes sense.
To our benefit, because we get to see some really pretty buildings.
They're pretty cool. Did you see there's also a Zuihoden museum that displays artifacts that were found after the complex suffered damage when the city was bombed in World War II?
Yeah.
Be cool to see. Ready to move on to the next stop on the Loople, Paul?
I am.
Let's hop on this bus, go over to the Sendai City Museum. I saw this called the Main Museum of Sendai.
Me too. It features many relics of the Date clan and some temporary varying exhibits. There's also a lot of history of the castle here.
As well as the history of Sendai and the Date clan, right?
Yes.
You mentioned that there was a place where you could see that giant helmet with the big crescent moon.
Yeah.
I think this is that place. They have Masamune's suit of armor.
Yeah.
I actually even saw a picture of a tourist wearing a replica of that helmet.
Okay, that's cool.
That would be a fun picture to get.
I remember when we got to dress up in
Sekigahara.
That was fun.
That was super fun.
There's also a VR exhibit and a theater here showing
VR
stuff.
exhibit. I want to know more about that.
It lets you walk around the old castle grounds as they were
That's
when
awesome.
the castle existed.
Man, I would pay so much for a game or whatever, an application where I could just walk around historical places in Japan or anywhere around the world, Even if you don't do anything, just walking around these historical places, like recreated as they actually were back then, that would be awesome.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. This is really random, Paul, but have you ever heard of the show Peep Show? It's a British comedy.
I feel like I have, but I'm not really recalling what it's about.
I'm sure I've mentioned it to you before. I first saw it probably like 10 years ago, but it's so good. And one of the main characters is real into history, and he reminds me of you in some ways.
Okay.
Listeners are going to think that that's a mean thing to say, that he reminds me of you, but I only mean that in the sense that he's real into history.
Okay, not all the other terrible things apparently about this character.
He's kind of an awful person, but his love of history is endearing.
Okay. So we're going to head to the former castle grounds next.
Yeah, stop 6 is the site of Sendai Castle, which is also known as Aoba Castle. Did you see that?
Yes.
Because the hill that it was built on was once called Mount Aoba.
Yes. Until they built all those 1,000 Buddha statues, apparently, and the name slowly changed.
Exactly.
So it was the castle of the Date clan. But none of it survives today, unfortunately, between fires and World War II and the years.
There's at least like stones, right?
Yes, like none of the main buildings survived.
Right. So yeah, the hill itself has actually been fortified since the Kamakura period, around 400 years before the castle was built. But yeah, those last remaining buildings of the castle were destroyed in World War II, I saw, when it was bombed.
It is a great outlook over the city from on top of the hill or mountain, as they call it.
And there's a museum on what was once the third bailey of the castle complex. There's also a shrine, a statue, a gift shop. I love those gift shops.
Yep. So it kind of makes it worth going up there between the view and the everything else.
I heard you can even see the Dai Kannon from up there.
Yes, I saw a video where you clearly could.
Nice. Does it need to be a clear day to see that far, or is it like pretty close?
I think it'd have to be a clear day. It seems like a ways off.
Yeah. We'll talk about that Dai Kannon later. It's a giant statue, essentially. But.
Yes.
Ready to move to stop 8 on the Loople?
Yep.
If you're interested in dinosaurs, you should totally go here. This is the Tohoku University Museum of Natural History.
Yes. There are hundreds of items on display, but the ones that may grab your attention are the complete skeletons of a Stegosaurus and a Fukui raptor.
That's awesome.
And there's also a whale skeleton hanging from the ceiling.
I saw they even have ancient human skeletons.
That's cool.
Paul, should I get a real human skeleton for my man cave down here?
By real, do you mean real?
Yeah, like an actual person that's no longer alive.
Yeah, probably.
It'd be kind of awesome, right?
Yeah.
Or at least a skull.
People will be like, oh, nice replica of a skeleton. And you'll be like, Jason, where did you get that?
And then I start telling the whole story of this person's life.
Can you buy human body parts online?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up.
Okay.
Is that really messed up, or is that kind of awesome?
Can I make a third choice? I don't know if I agree with either of those.
Yeah, what is it?
I mean, it's almost kind of awesome. It's a little macabre, but...
That's my thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's outrageous or anything.
I can put it in the display case with my Miku figurines.
I don't know about that.
I think it would work. I can put cool little lights in the eye sockets,
Sure. Or we could move on.
Okay.
Where are we stopping next?
Well, if we get back on the Loople bus, let's get a little further north to Osaki Hachiman Shrine. It's a national treasure, and stop 11 on the Loople.
It was constructed by our old buddy Date Masamune in 1607 and dedicated to Hachiman, the Shinto god of war.
That's right. I actually learned something new about Hachiman shrines when I was researching this, Paul.
What's that?
Did you know that Hachiman is the deified spirit of Emperor Ojin?
Oh, I didn't know that.
He supposedly reigned from around 270 to 310 CE. So this is like one of those real early, kind of half legendary emperors.
Yeah.
But this shrine specifically also enshrines two other deities, Emperor Chuai, who was emperor right before Ojin, and his Empress Jingu. Empress Jingu, you remember her? I know that name has come up several times
definitely
before.
Has.
Another fun fact, the very most common type of shrine, right?
Inari.
Yeah, which is like a third of all shrines, right? The second most common type, Hachiman shrines.
Hachiman. Okay, I feel like I've run into a few Hachimans.
Yeah, for sure. They're all over.
I mean, they literally had the Warring States period, so I'm not surprised they have a lot of shrines dedicated to god of war.
Right.
It's known for its kind of striking look with like the black lacquer with gold leaf accents.
I love the black and gold.
I like that
really
look
cool.
too, yeah.
All right, Paul, back on the Loople. Let's get off at stop 13 now, which is Jozenji-dori. This, out of all the places we've listed so far, this is the first one that I've actually been to. Because like I said, we didn't get too far out. We just like walked here from the station. We stayed at a hotel right by the station.
Oh, okay. I would have guessed you went to the mausoleum, at least.
Yeah, I wish.
Okay.
We should go back. We should go.
Oh, yeah. I like every city that we research. Like,
Yeah.
I very much want to go to Sendai now.
Right. So Jozenji-dori is a street that runs east-west through the middle of Sendai. It was named after Jozenji Temple, which was built in the time of Date Masamune, but the temple's no longer there. We mentioned that Sendai is known as the City of Trees for those Zelkova trees. Well, this street is lined on both sides by a whole bunch of those Zelkova trees.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even, did you look at pictures of the street? Like the street itself?
Yeah.
It's got that promenade down the middle, which is also lined with trees.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's like a really long, skinny park down the middle of the street.
And they also have a bunch of statues down the street that you can enjoy.
And benches and flowers. Like it's actually
Really
a
nice place to hang out.
bona fide park.
Yeah.
Like it's really nicely landscaped. And then on, the actual size of the streets, you got shops and restaurants. If you're there in September, you'll see musicians because they have the Jozenji Street Jazz Festival. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. I saw some pictures of that. It looked awesome. There's stages all over the place, big crowds.
So they block off the whole street for that, I assume?
That's
Or is
what
it just in the park?
It looked like they might have been blocking off the street. It's hard to tell.
Okay. And then the very next month in October, there are dancers for the Michinoku Yosakoi Festival. Did you see that one?
No.
We've talked about a Yosakoi festival elsewhere before. I don't remember what city. I think it's more of a kind of modern fusion sort of dance.
Sure. Yeah, I think I
Draws
remember
on
that.
traditional dance or something like that.
Yeah. It's also the home of the Pageant of Starlight, which is every December they light up all of those trees with an enormous amount of light. It looks incredibly stunning.
Gotta love illuminations.
Yep.
I have some more stuff about that. Did you want to talk about that now, or should we wait and do like an events section?
I think we got some more events coming up.
Okay. Done with Jozenji-dori then?
Yeah.
Okay. From there, let's just walk. We don't need to get back on the Loople. If we walk a few blocks south, we're going to enter a network of covered shopping streets, which I guess is known as the Sunmall Ichibancho shopping district. Did you get a little confused too about this area? Because they're like all these interconnected shopping streets that all have different names, but they're also kind of the same thing.
A little bit, because you might find a source that talked about this road and that road, and then you'd find another source that talked about it as the Sun Mall as one thing.
Yeah.
But I
Like,
think
I
if
was-
you just follow the covered area, you stay in it.
Right. I mean, it's obvious, which directions will bring you to a continuation of the shopping street or whatever. But I just thought it was weird that each section of it has a different name. And also, I thought it was funny that none of the names are Japanese either. You notice that?
No, really.
So if we're heading south from Jozenji-dori, we enter at one called Vlandome. Like, where did that even come from? And then you run into the Sunmall Ichibancho. Ichibancho is Japanese, but Sunmall, it's not Japanese.
Yeah.
And then there's, I don't even know how this is pronounced. It's CLIS Road, Kliss Road. I don't know. And then there's Marble Road.
Okay.
And that's what they're called in Japanese too. I mean, they pronounce it, in a Japanesey way, but it's like, I don't know. I'm just curious where all those names came from. That's all. But okay, so we also spent a lot of time here in 2015 because it was actually raining a lot of the time that we were in Sendai. And so we just spent a huge amount of time. And like this shopping district is so huge, you really can spend a big chunk of the day just looking at all these shops. This is where I got my matcha bowl, actually.
Okay.
And there was like a pet shop. We looked at some little cute puppies. And there was an arcade. This is where they had an arcade where you could actually play computer games. They had like a mouse and a keyboard, and you could play Left 4 Dead 2 with other people.
Oh, that's cool.
It was super fun.
That's fun.
So if we head east from those shopping streets, now we're back by Sendai Station. We just did the loop, the titular loop of the Loople.
Yeah, that's probably a good day's worth of staying busy and seeing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, it is a bunch of cool stuff. I think it's time to get some food. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So Sendai has a local specialty that you'll see all over the city, Gyutan. Gyu, you know what gyu is, Paul?
Beef.
It's a cow. Yeah. And tongue
Tongue.
is the Sendai specialty, the big famous one. So not far from the station, you can find Date no Gyutan Honpo. That's where I went to try Gyutan, and you get it in different forms. It's not like, they're not just laying down a whole tongue on your plate. Like, it doesn't look like a tongue.
No. They cut it into little strips after they grill it, usually.
Yeah. If you think about the fact that it's a tongue while you're eating it, you can kind of get like, okay, I guess the texture kind of makes sense that it's a tongue. But it's also very tender. Like, it's not like how it feels when you bite into your own tongue.
I didn't even think about that.
Well, a cow tongue's just like a human tongue, just a lot bigger, right?
How's your lip doing?
Oh, man. Dude, I was even going to text you like later. So I was biting my lip a ton when I was on the phone with Paul the other day. And then after we got off the phone, then I started biting my tongue too. Like, what the heck? But yeah, it's healing okay. I haven't bit my lip since that day. So thank you for asking.
Okay. Well, after laughing at you about that, I bit my cheek. And then I was at work the next day, and I was kind of like slurred my words because I didn't want to bring my cheek in. So like some words, sounds I just couldn't make very well. And people were like, what? What, huh? What'd you say?
That's funny.
Did you see there's a Gyutan-dori on the 3rd floor of Sendai Station?
No.
As in Gyutan Street?
Like a bunch of
I think
Gyutan shops?
A bunch of restaurants kind of just together.
That's cool. Oh, also at that same restaurant. So I had like a grilled cow tongue. I had one with a marinade. I had a cow tongue sausage. I had cowtail soup. Like there's this whole set you can get with all these different ways of, trying the cow.
Okay.
And then at Jozenji-dori, I went to another restaurant where I had a Gyutan sandwich.
Okay.
But I bet that Gyutan Street has a bunch of cool stuff to try out.
I'm sure.
But like really, just wandering around the city, if you keep your eyes open, you'll see cow tongue advertised all over the place.
Yes. So I'm personally not going to try the cow tongue. I think we all know. But another thing Sendai is known for is zunda mochi. And that's mochi balls with a sweet edamame paste. So it's bright green. And apparently the edamame, they're using in a lot of stuff. Because you can get like a zunda shake or like smoothie. So there's all sorts of like sweetened soybeans that they're using in desserts that you'll find all over the city in little shops and things.
That actually sounds awesome. I'd love to try that.
Yeah, it does sound good. So I have one other cool food fact that I think I promised you.
I like food facts. You promised me? What?
I think I mentioned this when we were talking the other day, that I had a Sendai food fact.
Okay.
Sendai Station has more types of ekiben than any other station in all of Japan, which probably means all of the world.
Dang.
Ekiben being bento boxes that you can buy for your, a lunch for your trip.
So they just like have a bunch of shops selling all sorts of different ones, or is it one shop that sells a ton of different kinds?
I don't know. Probably some of both.
Well, we should check it out.
But I think that goes along with it's a transportation hub.
Totally.
Not everyone ends in Sendai, but a lot of people pass through Sendai.
I bet a bunch of those feature Gyutan as well.
Yeah, I bet. All right, well, the next day, I think we should travel a little bit further outside of the city center.
Yeah, we're done with the Loople. Now we got to take some trains to get a little further.
You almost said that like it was a bad thing.
I don't mind the trains. They're probably, I don't know. I was going to say they're probably more convenient than the bus, just because I have a personal bias against buses.
I know you're not a bus fan. No, but these are all easy to get to. So the first place we should go is the Sendai City Tomizawa Site Museum.
Yeah, this is an archaeological museum that's a little south of downtown. You can get there in about 15 minutes by train. I think the story behind the site is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
In 1988, they were going to build an elementary school there, but then they found the remains of a 20,000-year-old campsite and an ancient fossilized forest. So they're like, maybe this isn't the best place for an elementary school. Let's turn it into a museum instead.
Another thing that's really cool about this is it's half museum showing the artifacts that they've uncovered, and then the other half of the building is this huge dome that actually covers the site that they're digging to preserve it from the weather. And the walls even go way underground to help protect the area.
From what I saw, I mean, you're actually like looking at this 20,000-year-old campsite. Like you can see, these logs laid out and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could look at the archaeological site by walking around the exterior of the dome.
There's like a big pathway around the perimeter with like a railing. Right?
Yes, yeah.
I saw a review that said the basement level is the archaeological dig site. The basement level preservation is breathtaking and worth the visit alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's lots of exhibits about how people lived back then, showing off the stone tools, how they made fire, all sorts of things like that.
I love that, man. I mean, even just stuff from a couple thousand years ago is like crazy to me, trying to imagine what people were living like. But then to see something 20,000 years old.
I love all history, but I think prehistory excites me more than anything.
Yeah.
Like the farther back we go with humans, the more excited I get.
There's just so many unknowns, It's like every little morsel of information we get is like, wow.
Right. That's what's so cool. Every new dig changes what we know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a new thing. Now we have to rethink our models and stuff.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Should we head north this time?
Yeah.
If we head north of the Loople route, we're going to find Rinnoji, a 15th century Buddhist temple that was founded in 1441 by Date Mochimune, not Masamune. Date Mochimune. He was a predecessor of Date Masamune. This is actually the family temple of the Date clan, but it wasn't moved here until the early 1600s, which was, of course, when Masamune moved to Sendai.
Yep. And there's a lovely Japanese garden here with a pagoda.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
That does look very nice.
If we head a bit further northwest from there, we're going to find that Sendai Dai Kannon, which we mentioned before. I really like Google's name for it.
What was that?
The white-robed Colossus.
What?
I just think Colossus is such a cool word,
It makes sense. This is one of the odder attractions in the city for sure.
You could say that. Hey, you never played that game Shadow of the Colossus, did you?
No.
I played that a while ago. And I keep thinking about it. Like it's such a vibe, that game somehow. Like there's no speaking, there's barely any text. But it's really, it's a unique game. It's worth the play, even though it's like pretty old. It's been remastered and stuff, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But Colossus is a cool word.
Yep.
Okay, so this statue, it's a massive statue of Kannon, a goddess of mercy. When it was built in 1991, it was the biggest statue in the world at 100 meters tall, which is 330 feet.
Wow.
That's big.
One interesting thing is that you can enter the statue.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Through a dragon's mouth doorway.
Pretty cool. Did you also know that there are a ton of statues inside the giant statue?
Yes. There seems to be a bunch of stuff on the ground level. 33 Bodhisattva statues, I believe. But then there's also 12 demonic statues representing the Chinese astrology.
I'm intrigued.
Which I'm not super familiar with.
I like demonic.
Right? That sounds cool. And I heard the best way to do it is you can then go up to the top on the elevator and there's an overlook area where you can get some really cool views of the city.
Yeah.
And then if you go down the stairway to get back down, you keep running into more statues.
Sounds like a good way to do it.
Yeah. The statues on the way down represent the earthly desires. So you can find the one that you're struggling with and pray specifically to it.
I like that.
Like, I'm going to find the gluttonous one and be like, I need to stop eating so many cookies.
Is that your problem? I was going to ask you, which statue would you find? Which desire are you having trouble with?
I think that's my biggest one. I just, ever since I stopped running, I didn't stop eating my running calories.
Oh.
So I either got to start running again all the time or eat less.
You're looking good to me, Paul.
Yeah, I've leveled off.
You're not a fatty yet.
I don't know. That's not what the doctor says.
What? The doctor commented on your weight?
If you look at like the chart of like my height and my weight, I'm like slightly overweight.
Oh, well, you don't look it.
I bought the right sweater.
Well, my perception is also skewed because I'm an American, and like 90%
That's what I was
of
gonna
Americans
say.
are
Like, as an American, like I'm skinny.
Yeah, right.
What's your earthly desire, Jason?
I don't know. Is there one about the desire to retire as soon as possible?
It depends on how, I guess, you view early retirement. I mean, maybe some people would say like lethargy or something.
I don't know. It could be a desire for money, because to me, money is a symbol of freedom, because I can use the money to buy my freedom from the capitalist system in which we toil.
Sure. Well, how would you feel if like the guy in front of you stopped and prayed at every single one? Would you be like, this is a holy guy? Or you'd be like, this person has a lot of problems?
I'd be impressed that he's doing something about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I had one more detail about the statue itself, the big one.
Okay.
So Kannon holds a jewel in her right hand, which can grant wishes, and a water flask in her left hand that contains the water of wisdom.
If you could choose one, would you take a wish or would you take the wisdom?
Wisdom. I want the wisdom to be free of my desires.
Okay. I probably would too, but I'm also like, I drink it and then be like, I should have taken the wish as my new wisdom.
That's my new wisdom. Yeah. All right, Paul, let's start heading east to the port area.
Okay.
Because I am very interested to see the Earthquake Heritage Arahama Elementary School. It's not the easiest place to get to. We'll need to use a train and a bus or a car, but I think it's worth it because it's a free exhibition of an elementary school that survived the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. And I think it's morbidly interesting. I mean, you know, it's a very sad event, obviously.
Yeah, but it's good to learn about the tragedies of the past.
Yeah.
To recognize
honor the people that were,
and honor the suffering, to see what we can do to prevent things like that in the future.
Right. There used to be 800 households in this neighborhood, and now all that's left is this school where people actually sheltered during the tsunami.
My understanding was that they evacuated the school during the tsunami, and then in the aftermath of the tsunami, the school was used as a shelter for people that had lost their homes.
Oh, because it was one of the only buildings left standing?
Yes.
Okay.
Like all the kids and teachers ran up a hill and to safety.
Okay.
And no one from the school got hurt.
Oh.
But the school now is preserved, and it shows some displays, what I thought was really cool, of the temporary housing units that so many people lived in for up to years after the tsunami.
Yeah.
You can see the high water mark on the second floor where the water got all the way up, which is crazy.
That is crazy. And then the classrooms on the upper floors have exhibitions about the tsunami and what the city used to look like.
Yeah.
I saw that you can even set up an English-friendly tour where you can meet local residents and hear about their experiences firsthand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's like a Sendai tourist information desk that you can go to, and they have all of these English-friendly activities that you can do with locals. Like besides that, they have cooking workshops, sake appreciation workshops.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That's
the city just sets that up for people, you know?
It's really interesting. I mean, 2011 is starting to be a little while ago now, but so many historical disasters were so long ago, but being able to go there and like talk to the people that this happened to 15 years ago is really cool.
It is crazy. In the intro, I think you said like, oh, this is the event that everybody remembers. I was wondering how many listeners we have that were not alive when that happened.
Probably not too many. I mean, we're talking 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a few.
And we don't have a ton of listeners in that age group, I don't think. But
yeah, I find a lot of that these days. I work with too many young people.
I know.
That weren't even alive when major life-altering things happened to our generation, you know?
Yeah. Every day, man, I feel older and older.
Yeah.
It's just...
And no one teaches history anymore, so everyone's just not going to know about any of this stuff.
Yeah, isn't it weird? Anyway. So wait, we were...
So we were heading towards the port area.
Yeah. So the school is like near the coast, but the actual port itself is a few miles north of the school. And there's a bunch of interesting stuff around there.
Yeah.
Umino-Mori Aquarium is the largest aquarium in Tohoku. People seem to like it a lot. I specifically saw people saying that the dolphin show was really cool.
Okay. They also have seals and penguins, but they seem to specialize in sea creatures from the nearby coastline. A lot of oysters and other things like that.
Like that's a common theme for aquariums around Japan?
Yeah. The main tank looked pretty impressive. I saw a couple photos.
Cool. Mitsui Outlet Park is right nearby if you're into outlet malls. They also have a Ferris wheel, and I bet you get amazing views of the whole port area from the top of that Ferris wheel.
Yep, I'm down. I love the Ferris wheel views. I'm a sucker for it. Also a good place to shop.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of famous brands for some slight discounts, possibly.
How do you feel about outlet malls?
I don't mind them, but I'm not a big enough shopper to like care a lot about which mall I'm going to.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't want to spend a ton of time here, but I did see like the reviews seemed very positive for this outlet mall.
Yeah, it's huge.
And it looks nice. Like it's, it looks like a pleasant place to shop.
Yeah.
Sendai Port Central Park is just southeast from the outlet mall. By the way, this whole port area is extremely walkable. Like all this stuff is really packed together.
Yeah.
So this Central Park, it's right on the water. It looks like a really chill place to just hang out and look out at the water and watch the boats come in and that kind of stuff. Really nice landscaping.
Yeah, it looked like there was a hill in the back of the park that you could get up high and get a great view from.
Nice.
It's also really popular for fishing. I saw people saying in the reviews that like there was a line of cars up already when the park was opening in the morning, waiting to get in and get the best fishing spots.
That's pretty cool.
So then right near here is our next stop, the Kirin Beer Factory Sendai.
That's where I'll spend most of my time in the port area, I think.
There are tours in Japanese, but you get an English pamphlet and some English signage that has the main points on it for you, so you can kind of follow along with what's happening.
Kirin is, of course, one of the biggest beer producers in Japan. And did you look at the reviews for this place?
They were outstanding.
People
Everybody
were raving.
loved it.
Yeah. Like they show you the whole beer making process. There's a tasting at the end.
And I was like, oh, cool, beer tasting. But then I saw all the pictures. It looks like they give you 3 full beers.
And you get a can to take home at the end. And the best part, it's all free.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
They also have lessons on how to pour the optimal glass of beer.
I need to take that class. I always wondered, especially with those Japanese beers, it's hard to get a good head on those, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, Paul, now that we've seen all this cool stuff, should we talk about some of the seasonal events that you can see in Sendai?
Yeah, let's do it. There's some special matsuri here. One is the Tanabata Matsuri, which you see all over Japan, but this is one of the largest in all of Japan.
I saw it's the single largest Tanabata festival.
Okay, I believe it because it attracts over 2 million visitors per year.
That's crazy.
In a city of 1 million? That's wild.
Can I give a little background about the holiday itself?
Yes, please.
So Tanabata is a holiday where the deities Orihime and Hikoboshi meet each year. Those are two deities represented by the stars Vega and Altair. And Paul, you know the date of Tanabata, right?
Well, I think it's based on the lunar calendar, so it kind of swings around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always heard like it was July 7th, but it's actually the 7th day of the 7th month, like you said, in the lunar calendar. So in Sendai, they don't celebrate it until August 7th.
Yeah. One of the main features is just the decorations. They have thousands of these huge, colorful streamers that they hang from bamboo poles.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the word streamers doesn't really get it across.
Well, yeah, because they're like 6 feet long or more. They're huge and super well decorated. But I don't know what else to call it.
I know. They're like, I've never seen anything quite like it, you know? They use bamboo and washi paper to make like these giant poles, kind of, there's a giant ball on the top and then the paper streamers kind of hanging down from them, and they're really, really colorful. I don't know. They're weird, but they're cool looking.
They also use symbolism in some of their other decorations. They make little paper kimonos to ward off bad health, or little purse if you want good business. And those can be part of the streamers, or they can be their own separate things hung up in places.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Saw there's a fireworks display too. You know, they're good at fireworks over there.
I think that's the night before the festival to kick it off. Like I saw August 5th. That night they do it. And then the 6th through 8th is the official festival.
Okay. There seemed to be stuff going on all over downtown Sendai, though. Like didn't seem like it was centralized in one specific place.
Yeah, it looked like a few streets were dressed up, and then there's food vendors in parks and things. Just the whole place with 2 million visitors in a 3-day festival or whatever, it's going to be popping everywhere.
Yep. Another event that sounds pretty cool, you mentioned earlier, the Pageant of Starlight.
Yeah.
It's the largest winter illumination in Tohoku. These illuminations, I don't know how common that is like in other places. I guess we have stuff kind of like that. I don't know if we really call them illuminations generally, but they're just places where they set up tons of lights and like, you know, little Christmas-like kind of things, and they look really, really cool.
Yeah.
This one, the Pageant of Starlight, I saw it, known across the country for being one of the best in the country.
Well, I believe it. There's so many trees lining those streets, and they're so together that there's like no gaps in the lights. The lights are just everywhere.
I kind of love that when cities just like wrap trees in tons and tons of lights.
Yeah.
Actually, when we moved in here, we're in a new city. This house that we got is a city that I've not lived in before, and just down the street from here, they have a bunch of trees that they wrap in Christmas lights. So I was kind of excited to see that. It's a cool vibe.
Yeah, you're close to the little pseudo downtown area here.
Yeah. But yeah, so in Sendai, since 1986, each winter they've been lighting up all of those trees that line Jozenji-dori with over 600,000 lights.
It's a few.
Yeah.
Another famous festival we already mentioned is the Jozenji Street Jazz Festival.
Yep.
The largest amateur music festival in Japan, which sounds super cool.
It does.
So I'd swing by if I was in town.
I like jazz.
Yeah. Although it's not just jazz anymore. It's all kinds of music.
Oh.
It started as jazz, and then they quickly, everybody's welcome.
Cool.
But the name's super cool. I mean, Street Jazz Festival, I feel like that's about as cool of a name as you're going to get.
But it draws people in.
Yeah.
Paul, you ready to venture outside the city? Maybe talk about some day trips?
Yes. There's so many amazing day trips here. We're gonna talk about a couple of them here.
Yeah. Should we start with Matsushima Bay?
Yeah, I think this is the obvious one.
I mean, it's one of Japan's 3 most scenic views.
Yes.
And you can get there in less than an hour by train from Sendai.
Yep.
It's just a little bit further north along the coast from that port area that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, just wanted to stop and quiz you for a sec. Do you know the other 2 of the top 3 most scenic views in the country?
I'm gonna struggle with this. Amano Hashidate.
Yes.
In the north of Kyoto Prefecture.
Correct.
That beautiful sandbar.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this too.
You do.
I do. Oh my God. I'm blanking. It's getting too late.
It's near a city that we did a itinerary for. Actually, I mean, this place is on the itinerary.
Oh, yeah, of course. Miyajima.
That's it.
Miyajima.
Yep.
Yep.
You got it. Anyway, so Matsushima Bay, it looks beautiful. It has over 200 small islands covered in pine trees. Actually, Matsushima translates to Pine Island.
Yeah. All these islands are just little rocky islands sticking up and pine trees all over them. It really is beautiful.
Yeah, it looks nice.
There's boats leaving all over the place that do little tours and let you see the islands from the bay itself.
Yeah. Sightseeing cruises.
Yeah.
I also noticed that one of the larger islands actually has a footbridge going out to it.
Yes, there's 2 islands with footbridges.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can go explore and get views from those islands themselves.
Cool. I really enjoy those views. Like I saw a lot of that kind of thing in the Seto Inland Sea, you know? And around the Sendai area too, on some of the other day trips we're going to talk about, I saw that where, you know, you just look out over the water and it's dotted with all these little tiny islands. It's cool.
So, I mean, I knew about Matsushima, but I didn't know about all the other stuff they had here besides just the bay. So I was really impressed learning about Zuihoden, which is a Zen temple founded in 828 and then restored in 1609 by Date Masamune himself. It's known for its beautifully painted sliding doors that also use gold leaf on them.
Nice.
And there's several meditation caves around the grounds.
I don't know what that means, but I would check it out. I'll meditate in a cave. That sounds awesome.
But probably even more impressive, right next door is Ensuin, which is a temple built in 1647 to be the mausoleum of Date Mitsumune, who was the son of the then ruling lord of the clan, who died, unfortunately, at 19. And apparently, his most devoted followers committed ritual suicide upon his death to follow him into the afterlife.
Man, I want a nickname like the One-Eyed Dragon, and I want people to kill themselves when I die, just out of respect and stuff, you know?
Okay, I need to make sure I die first here.
I didn't mean you know, some lowly peons or something.
You're going to like leave in your will, like play this recording at my funeral. It's going to be like, Paul, if you're here, you're not my friend at all. You should have killed yourself and followed me.
That's awful.
Yeah, that's where my imagination goes. So a couple really cool things about Ensuin is that inside the mausoleum building, they have a bunch of paintings, and some of them are Western inspired. We talked about the Date clan being a little bit involved. There's the first known painting of a rose in all of Japan, because roses aren't native to Japan.
Oh, wow. That's pretty interesting.
And then on the grounds, there's a rose garden that they built later, inspired by that rose. But there's also a moss garden and a maple garden and a rock garden and a cedar grove.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say bamboo grove. Cedar grove sounds pretty cool too.
Yeah. So just like a beautiful, relaxing place.
That does sound really nice.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got on Matsushima.
All right. Let's move on to another day trip that you could do from Sendai. There's the city of Ishinomaki, and then a little island off the coast there called Tashirojima. So this is even further north along the coast, past Matsushima Bay. And my wife and I did a day trip here back in 2015, and it was awesome. I highly recommend this day trip. It was so much fun. So like the main attraction around there is Tashirojima, which is known as Cat Island. There are several cat islands in Japan, but this is the one that I've visited, and it's super cool. It's just covered in cats. Like seriously, you get off the boat, and there are just cats all over the place.
And then this is the one that also has the resort, too. Is this the one with the cat-shaped buildings?
Yeah.
And then it's got all the cat artwork inside the buildings, I think. They're like decorated with cat art.
I don't remember seeing inside the buildings much. I didn't like peer through the windows or anything, but the buildings are cat-shaped, which is really fun to see. And I guess you can rent them out, right? Yeah, you said it was a resort.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like anyone was around when I was there. It might be a seasonal thing or something, but...
Or they were all just out walking the island being covered in cats or something.
Could be. But yeah, so not many people live on this island anymore, but it's just a tourist attraction these days because of all these cats. And there are some cool ruins. Like there's an old school that's kind of overgrown, being retaken by nature. That was pretty fun to explore a little bit. And there's like a cat shrine and stuff. We talked about this place in episode 58, which was about animal islands and villages, by the way.
Yep.
I don't know if there's much more to say about it. I think we kind of covered it right there, but it was really cool. So that was like the main reason I went to this area was Cat Island just sounded really fun to me, and it was. But also that city that you need to take the boat from to get out to the island, Ishinomaki, was also unexpectedly very cool. It's kind of got a small town feel to it, but it has this manga museum, the Umino-Mori Manga Museum. That was really fun. It has a really interesting look to it. It looks kind of like a alien spaceship. Did you look at pictures?
Yeah. I heard described a little bit as an egg-shaped building.
I feel like it's more like a flying saucer sort of thing on legs, personally.
Yeah.
But it really stands out. Like it's right on the shoreline there. And it displays the works of Shotaro Ishinomori, also known as the King of Manga. He created the Super Sentai series. That's the series that was adapted into Power Rangers. He also created Kamen Rider, which is a really huge manga and
massive
anime, right? Wasn't there a live action Kamen Rider?
I think there've been a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Anyway, a big media franchise or something. And he was also an assistant to Osamu Tezuka, who was the guy that created Astro Boy, and Ishinomori worked on Astro Boy. So he was a very influential guy in
Astro
the manga
Boy is
world.
what kicked off the entire manga industry and art style in Japan.
Yeah. And since my wife and I were there just 4 years after the tsunami, this is where we saw a lot of the damage that had been done. Lots of abandoned houses or just foundations, like right on the coast. I really wonder what it looks like these days, 10 years later.
Yeah, it's another good place to learn about the tsunami. There's another elementary school here, Karodowaki Elementary School, that now houses a museum about the destruction and how people got along afterwards.
Okay. All right, another day trip we want to talk about is Zao Kitsune Mura, which is a fox village. That's what Kitsune Mura means, fox village. So this one's kind of in the mountains southwest of Sendai. It takes a little bit of work to get there. You got to take a train and then a taxi, as I recall. I thought it was pretty cool just because I'd never been so close to foxes. And there are so many of them. There's like this huge fenced-in area filled with foxes. You can feed them. You can walk around with them. You might even get a chance to pet one. You're not supposed to just pet them like on your own walking around with them. But there's an area where one of the employees will like hold a fox and you can pet its fur. And I don't know. I just like getting close to animals like that. But it's also kind of a controversial place. There are questions about how well the foxes are treated or how happy they are in such close proximity to each other because they're normally pretty solitary animals, I think. But
yeah, that was, I think, the biggest criticism I saw. There's an organization apparently in Japan called Japan Animal Welfare Society, which is known as JAWS, which is kind of a cool acronym.
That's pretty cool.
And in 2022 to 2023, they did a little investigation and they found severe fighting, untreated injuries, and frozen water during winter. Which the water, I think, has been corrected with heated water bowls. But that many solitary animals in confinement, there's probably always going to be fighting, I would guess.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things you got to feel about how you feel about that personally
Right.
and decide for yourself.
Right. We mentioned this place, or we covered it in a bit more detail, I think, in episode 58 too. That was that same episode about animal islands and villages and whatnot. Well, Paul, I think that'll keep you busy for a while, right? All the things that we talked about. You look confused. You okay there?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, you could definitely spend the better part of a week in Sendai and the surrounding area.
You want to chat a little bit about how to get to and around Sendai?
Yeah. I mean, getting to Sendai, I suppose let's start there.
Sure.
It is a stop on the Tohoku Shinkansen.
Yeah.
So it's about a 100-minute journey from Tokyo.
100-minute.
But these are the Shinkansen because there's different trains, there's different lines, so the times vary a little bit.
I don't think in terms of minutes over 60 minutes. I don't like that. 100 minutes is an hour 40 minutes.
Yes.
Right.
Is that how you would say it?
Yeah.
Or would
100
you
minutes
say-
that's weird to me. My brain doesn't like that.
Or would you say 1.66 repeating hours?
Well, I was going to say 1.5 to 2 hours
Okay.
from Tokyo.
Sure. That works.
But yeah, the Shinkansen is probably the most reasonable way to get there. And once you're there, of course, we already mentioned the Loople Sendai bus, which is awesome. Like, it runs every 20 minutes. You can get a day pass, which also gives you discounts to some of those attractions around the city.
Nice.
Just seems like a really good deal.
Yeah, the day pass isn't even that expensive.
Yeah. And then if you wanted to get further out to some of those other attractions we mentioned or those day trips, there are plenty of local train lines, there are buses, there are train lines that can get you further out from the city. So it's really not hard to get around. No need for a car unless you really want to get out into the mountains or something.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, the taxi can help you get to Zaokitsunemura, but it's not a big deal. It's not tough to get around at all.
Yeah, there's also a Sendai area pass that's exclusive to foreign tourists. And that gets you on all the local trains, plus some that go even out a ways, like to some of these day trips. You can purchase the pass at the JR East Travel Service Center on the second floor of JR Sendai Station. It's 1,320 yen for one day. So you do have to get around a bit to make it worthwhile, but if you're going to some of the further out places and back, it can make sense.
Sounds cool. Got anything else about Sendai, Paul?
I will after we go there.
We should, man. I don't know how I missed the Dai Kannon, especially. I mean, it's just so big.
Yeah.
You would have thought that I would have seen it in the distance and been like, well, let's go there.
The downtown area that you spent a lot of time in is probably one of the hardest places in the city to see it from.
Well, it's all those trees. I was surrounded by trees the whole time. I couldn't see the horizon or anything, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know I said you could plan the next trip, and I will stick with that. I'm just saying, I'd like to go to Sendai.
I'm pretty sure I told you I'm not taking any suggestions, Paul.
I'm still going to give them.
I will file those away in my definitely not happening next trip folder.
Okay, so I just need to list all the places I don't want to go.
Ah, crap, you found a loophole. Well, before we go, we should thank our Shogun level patrons.
Yeah.
Nicholas McKibben, Kevin Harris, Michael Morris, Wesley C., Brady K., Jack, David Imani, Susan, Tori, Shaked Rosenthal, Tina Anderson, Alexa Gonzalez, Pamela Arola, Kevin Phillips, Franzi and Matthias, Saul Martinez, Kelly Ardong, Dennis Pearson, and Robin Moore. Thank you all so very much. We really appreciate it. What do you want to do here, Paul? We talk about Instagram?
Yeah.
We're at SJP Podcast on Instagram. I should probably start posting more stuff. I'm always like posting stories and stuff, but I haven't been keeping up with the posts. But I still got a bunch of pictures from our last trip.
Yeah, you got to have some good ones you haven't got on there yet.
Yeah. Did you see my collection of ramen that I ate last trip? There were a whole bunch of them.
Yes, I
And
did
I found
see
that fun little ramen song to go along with it. That was fun. Anyway, yeah, check us out on Instagram. You can also find us on X. Paul manages that part.
Mm-hmm.
We're also SGP Podcast there. Paul, what are we talking about next time?
On the next episode, we will be discussing things that you will miss about Japan and a few that you won't.
We're going to complain about things.
Yes.
Fun.
We're not 100% Japanophiles here.
We're not just total weebs that can't even acknowledge any of the problems in Japan. We're going to point out every problem with Japan.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have a lot more positive things to say, but I think I came up with a few clever critiques.
When we were talking about it the other night, I was thinking, okay, well, Paul's going to complain about this, and I'm going to be like, that doesn't really bother me.
Okay. Well, I'll see what you complain about.
Yeah, I got some things to complain about. If there's anything I'm good at, is complaining.
Yeah.
So
there's one or two I know you're going to be all over.
Well, I'm curious what you think those things are. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.